Hi Aquarius, thank you for joining me. This will be a general spread for Aqua, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, having a look to see at some messages which could be helpful for you for the upcoming month ahead. Aqua, okay, let's see, 4 cards. Okay, the Fool, the 10 of Wands, the 9 of Swords, okay, and the 4 of Wands. Okay, very interesting energy here, Aquarius. Let's have a look at the overall scope. Okay, now the only sign that has come up next to is the Fool, which is Aries. I don't know if there's a destined Aries coming through, someone that's going to have, a lot of power over you. It can also be symbolic of challenge or isolation. You can see the pelican here that's on this stump. A certain situation here. Okay, the beginning of a situation is starting, Aquarius. You also have the 10 of Wands, 9 of Swords, and the 4 of Wands. Okay, the Fool and the 9 of Swords. What's going on here, Aqua? 9 of Swords energy. I mean, 9 of Swords is not an ideal place to be in psychologically, mentally. We can see this bird, and he's almost ready to attack this figure here. I mean, it's interesting because the 9 of Swords is very ambiguous. Does the bird in question actually exist? Is he there? Is he a dream? Is it real? Things could be very surreal, I think, for you. There's a certain situation, could even be with words. The bird is seen as a messenger, and you do have the pelican here as well. Except what's coming up as this pelican is very still, is almost quiet, in this very tranquil scene where the bird is very quiet, the bird is still. It's still the carrier, so it's still a messenger of some kind here, but there's almost like a stillness or a silence, whereas this bird, beak open, almost ready to attack, ready to lurk forward. The attack hasn't happened as yet. It could be fear that's coming in, but these are two different modes of communication coming up around you, Aqua. I feel like someone is, and I don't know if this is you. I mean, the Fool is more in Aries, but you could be, as an air sign here, it could be you. The Moon has come up, which can be Cancer energy as well. But what I'm gaining from this is that someone's giving a lot more communication than the other. Someone has invested a lot more mentally than the other. So communication will be very interesting, I think, for you. Little bird is sort of more quiet, keeping things at a standstill, trying to keep head above water, landing for safety amongst the vast ocean, whereas this bird is impeding and confrontational and intimidating. So there's 2 very different approaches coming up. I don't know if this is the conversation that's going to take place between you and another person, and it could go one of 2 ways. It's either you're putting a lot of yourself out there. You may feel somewhat foolish for doing so, Aqua, or it could be reversed. It could be someone else putting themselves out there and the other sort of retracting. So you're going to see that. You're going to see a lot of that. And there's a toughness, there's a heaviness that approaches you, I feel. 10 of Wands, something's getting intense, something's getting heavy. 10 of Wands is seen as a burdensome energy here. And you can see this sort of like lasso of fire that's wrapped around all these trees, all these branches. And, essentially we see that person carrying the wands in the background. There's a heaviness, but he keeps pushing through. I want to say to some of you Aquas out there, you need to push through in a situation. You need to keep going. Things are getting heavy for you, but I think deep in your mind, you believe that something is going to come of this. The 4 of Wands is here, often seen as a card of unionship, marriage, celebration. I mean, it almost reminds me of, I know they look like branches, but it almost reminds me of these rune stones that you find in some parts of, say, for example, Scandinavia or the United Kingdom. And this is a very magical or spiritual place. So I think you're fighting to be in that place. So what I'm seeing here is that you feel you're deserving of something. You feel you're entitled to something here. And I do feel like you're going to push on. You're going to press forward in a situation because you believe there's something that's going to come out of this, something good. So I think in your mind, in your heart, your spirituality, it's embedded within you that you feel this way. So it's very interesting. You feel like, and it could be anything to do with a union or a marriage or a relationship. This could be tough and pressing times that are up and ahead for you. But you believe something is worth nurturing. And I use the word nurturing because you've got, with the Fool card, you've got the Moon. It's Cancer energy, okay? Cancer is a very secure energy. It's a mothering energy. It's tenderness, it's nurturing. I don't know if this is you nurturing yourself, especially if you have had challenges. The Fool, Aries, the god of war and conflict. Let's look at that for a moment. There might be a situation that arises, and there might be an argument, there might be opposition, there might be conflict, and, words could be exchanged. But something about nurturing is going to come fairly soon after. So especially if you have been in a space where there's been a lot of arguments or disagreements, and there hasn't been that sort of settled energy, I feel like the dust will settle. So if you're sort of coming into that Nine of Swords, you might come back into the Fool energy and things will settle once more. You're definitely presuming a lot. You're presuming things, Aqua. So there's something that has you somewhat fearful. I don't know if you're in a stage where you feel like you're losing someone, or you feel like you're losing touch with something. But there's a bit of fear instilled in you. But I think this is a good fear. And I say that because that fear is what's going to keep you pressing on. The Ten of Wands, he doesn't drop the wands. As heavy as they are, as intense as they are, as burdensome as they can be, he continues. He's almost like on a mission here. So there's a sheer determination that comes with this, Aqua. And I feel like this little bit of fear, I don't know if it's even a little bit of panic. The Nine of Swords is here. He's a panicked figure. But I think this is a good panic, because it's going to make you nurture something that you possibly hadn't nurtured, possibly something that you had taken for granted. And once the dust settles a little bit, Aqua, this is you feeling like you need to press on. Maybe you need to take charge. Maybe you need to be the big bird. Maybe you need to be the little bird. It depends where you stand in this situation, where you're at mentally as well. But I don't see any sort of exodus. Like, I don't see you leaving a situation. I don't think you're at a point where you want to leave yet. I think you're at a point where you want to press on. And I mean, all these cards that figure they all figure it as the nighttime. So it could be a tough time coming up. It could be a time where you don't really know where you're going, what you're doing. I do feel like some of you are going to have a very spiritual moment. I mean, and that comes through many forms: dreams, premonitions, affirmations, meditations. I feel like there's a lot of spirituality connected with the Four of Wands. And you can see this almost like light stream of energy. And it's barely visible here, but I feel like there's something that's going to come to you, some sort of realization. And I do feel like it's a very powerful spiritual moment or realization that's coming to you. And like I said, it may cause a bit of panic, but I feel like it's a good panic, because it's going to give you the motivation you need to keep going in whatever this is that you're currently encountering. And so it's a ray of hope, a ray of light here, Aqua. Very, very powerful. But I will leave it at that. Thank you so much for tuning in, Aqua.